Mel and Martell marriage is something that fans of Love and Marriage, Huntsville, have been debating for years. It's messy, it's complicated, and it's one of the most talked about topics from the show. I want you to stay with me until the very end of this video because we are not just scratching the surface. We are going deep into how Arionne got involved, what her role really was, how MartellHolt behaved throughout the marriage, how Melody Shari rose above it all, and how this storyline connects with other cast members like Marcia Scott, Letitia Scott, Morris Scott, and Kimmy Scott. Trust me, you don't want to miss a single part of this because by the time we're done, you're going to see the situation clearer than ever before. Now let's go back to the beginning. When Love and Marriage Huntsville first started, the big focus was on Melody and MartellHolt as a power couple. They were the couple everyone thought had it all together: business, love, family, kids, and a shared dream of building generational wealth. But behind the scenes, cracks had already formed. The biggest crack, the one that split the entire marriage apart, was Martell's long affair with Arionne. And when I say long, I mean years of sneaking around, years of lies, and years of disrespect to Melody, who stood by his side as his wife and the mother of his children. That is why this topic is so important, because it shows what really went wrong and who played what role. Arionne, who many fans now call Coleslaw, didn't just pop into Martell's life by accident. She became a choice, a habit, and a comfort zone for Martell. Instead of fixing his marriage with Melody, instead of dealing with the problems at home, he ran to Arionne. She was always available, always willing to listen, and always willing to give him attention. But here's the key thing. Just because Martell chose her in those moments does not mean she was the prize. In fact, the opposite is true. If she was truly the prize, Martell would have married her after divorcing Melody. He would have chosen her publicly, proudly, and without shame. But years later, after the divorce, after all the damage, Martell still has not made her his wife. That speaks volumes. And this is where people misunderstand Arionne's role. She wasn't just the other woman. It's just someone on the sidelines. She became a tool, a distraction, and a buffer that Martell used to avoid accountability. And the sad part is, she played right into it. She believed everything Martell told her about Melody. She believed his lies about how unhappy he was, how controlling Melody was, how he wasn't getting love at home. Classic manipulation. Instead of questioning him, instead of respecting another woman's marriage, she went along with it. She even mocked Melody publicly, threw shade at her, and disrespected her children. That is where fans really turned against her. Now, let's talk about Melody Shari, because this story is not complete without highlighting her strength. Melody didn't just find out about Martell's affair once. She forgave him multiple times. She tried to work on the marriage. She went to counseling. She even gave him chances when most women would have walked away. But what broke her wasn't just the cheating, it was the fact that Martell continued the relationship with Arionne, even after promising Melody that he would end it. That constant betrayal, that constant disrespect, is what destroyed the marriage for good. Melody finally decided that enough was enough, and she filed for divorce. That's when we really saw her shine. She rebuilt her life, started winning awards, launched her music career, and became a role model for women everywhere who have been through betrayal. And while Melody was glowing and winning, Martell was struggling. He tried to make himself look like the victim. He went on interviews, podcasts, and even on the show trying to paint himself as misunderstood. But fans weren't buying it. They knew the truth. They saw the patterns. They saw how Martell would gaslight, deflect, and blame others instead of owning his mistakes. And meanwhile, Arionne was still in the picture. Still bitter, still ranting online, and still trying to convince the world that she was important. But again, if she really mattered to Martell, why didn't he choose her fully? Why didn't he marry her after Melody? Because deep down, he knew she wasn't on Melody's level. Let's pause right here and really think about this. Arionne's role in the marriage wasn't about love. It wasn't about partnership. It was about convenience. Martell wanted someone who didn't challenge him, someone who let him get away with his behavior. Melody challenged him. Melody called him out. Melody had standards, and instead of rising to meet them, he went lower. He found someone who didn't push back, someone who accepted the bare minimum. That is why Arionne never won, no matter how much she tried to act like she did. Now, let's bring in the rest of the cast because their reactions and involvement added fuel to the fire. Marcel Scott and Letitia Scott were often pulled into the drama. There were rumors, whispers, and accusations that Marcel himself had secrets, and that Martell tried to expose them when things got messy. Letitia stood by Marcel, but she also threw shade at Melody, which caused more division among the women. Maurice Scott and Kimmy Scott also got dragged into it. Arionne at one point hinted that she knew things about them too, and that made the cast uneasy. This is why Arionne was so toxic for the group. Even though she wasn't an official cast member, her presence lingered over everything like a dark cloud. But here's where things get even deeper. Martell's decision to bring Arionne into his life didn't just destroy his marriage with Melody. It damaged his reputation, his friendships, and even his business connections. People no longer respected him the way they once did. And every time Arionne went live on Instagram, ranting, exposing, and mocking, it only made Martell look worse. She wasn't protecting him. She was embarrassing him. And yet he still couldn't let her go completely. That shows you the toxic cycle they were stuck in. Fans often ask, why did Arionne stick around so long? The answer is simple, but sad. She wanted to win. She wanted to prove that she was better than Melody. She thought that if she stayed long enough, Martell would finally choose her, finally marry her, and finally make her the star of his life. But he didn't. And he still hasn't. Because deep down, Martell knows what we all know. Melody was the real prize. Melody was the real partner. And that's why even after the divorce, he still obsesses over her. He still tries to control her. He still wants to be part of her life, even when she has clearly moved on. I want you to stay with me here, because by the end of this video, you will see why Arionne's role was never about winning. It was about distraction, destruction, and ego. Melody has shown us what true winning looks like. She is thriving. She is building her brand. She is raising her children with love and stability. She is getting awards, recognition, and success that Martell and Arionne can only watch from the sidelines. And that is why fans continue to support her. Even when drama with the Scotts gets messy, even when Martell tries to spin the story, even when Arionne tries to insert herself again, the truth remains the same. Melody Shari rose above all of it. She took the pain, the betrayal, and the public embarrassment, and she turned it into power. That is the real story. And Arionne, she will always be remembered as the side piece who thought she was the main dish but never got chosen. So don't go anywhere, because in the next part of this breakdown, we're going to dig even deeper into how the cast members reacted behind the scenes, the moments that never made it on camera, and why this story is still shaping the future of love and marriage. Huntsville today. Trust me, you want to hear every detail. When we talk about the truth of Arionne Curry's role in the Mel and Martell marriage, we also have to face how she inserted herself into the bigger picture of the show, even though she was never an official cast member. That's the crazy part, Arionne. Never had a contract, never sat on the reunion couch, never filmed regular scenes, but her shadow was everywhere. Every time Melody and Martell had an argument, her name would come up. Every time the cast talked about infidelity, her name was in the background. She became the ghost of the marriage, haunting every episode, every storyline, and every conversation. And honestly, that's one of the biggest reasons fans grew to dislike her. She was everywhere without actually being anywhere. She wanted the attention, but not the responsibility. She wanted the spotlight, but not the accountability. Now let's really get into MartellHolt's behavior, because none of this could have happened without his choices. Martell is the one who is married. Martell is the one who took vows with Melody. Martell is the one who built a family with her. And yet he made the decision to start an affair with Arionne. He made the decision to keep it going for years. And he made the decision to lie, manipulate, and gaslight Melody. When fans look at this situation, they often ask, why was Arionne so bold? Why did she feel so comfortable disrespecting Melody? The answer is simple, because Martell gave her that confidence. He gave her that false sense of importance. He put her in a position to feel like she could talk reckless about his wife, his children, and his castmates. And that is where his accountability is front and center. But here's the kicker. Even though Martell empowered Arionne behind the scenes, in public he still clung to Melody. He still wanted the image of a strong, successful wife on his arm. He wanted Melody's shine, Melody's brains. He wanted Melody's shine, Melody's brains.